Welcome to the Daily B Show with Yogita Ridgley. Meeting the real authentic you is what we're going to be discussing, among other things. Episode 114. The show's going flying along. But guys, thank you for your support. Thanks for joining us. For any other form of support that you can show, jump through our links to our sponsors. We've got Amazon for some great products, basically anything you can possibly think of in the world. Jump through and get all your audiobooks through Audible, and your retreats and holiday destinations through Malumba and Aquila Estate. And also, if you're starting a business or needing to really connect with your clients on a more impactful way through systems and operational systems, see Ventive as well. But guys, thanks for joining us. Yogita Ridgley in the house. Yogita, thank you so much for joining us. Yogita has come across the seas to join us in Australia, been here for quite some time now. She's run hotels. She's been an accountant in a yesteryear, and now she is transforming the world and women's lives specifically, helping them really tap in and journey within to their inner selves, and also travel around the world and sharing her journey of her travels in alignment with her journey and travels within herself, which I think is absolutely beautiful. But Yogita, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the Daily B Show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an amazing opportunity to share my message. And of course, have a little debate on bits and pieces that we always get very excited about. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. So fill the gaps in for those that haven't met you, and the things that I may not have touched on that are, pertinent for your essence of who you are and really what got you to where you are now. And maybe share, just to start with, what you're doing specifically now.
Sure, absolutely. So what I'm doing at the moment, my business is called Traveling with Me, Myself, and I. So the traveling word on that has got like a twist to it, which has got two meanings. So you're traveling through your life and you're traveling through the world. And both of them, the principle behind this is you're traveling to discover the true version of yourself. And what I normally say to people, what you were last year is not what you now, and it's not going to be what you are next year. So it's a journey that is never ending. And the final destination is where you want to get to, and with a big smile on your face and no regrets at all. So that's the business. It is very different to what I did before.
Sounds like
what I did before almost is like another lifetime, because I'm a totally different person from then to now. So yeah.
Because how long have you been doing this now for?
I started this I started with, the first part of it was just travel blogging. It was like a outlet of what I was already doing. So I was still running the hotel and I was travel blogging every time I go somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was like a passion that started into, okay, what I want to do now is more clear. So I started in 2015/16 and went full time after I sold my hotel business in 2017. So yeah, so big transition, very exciting journey. Yeah.
So we would have met a lot of people on your travels as well, and I'd imagine doing that blogging is just a great way of diarising what's happening, but also a therapeutic medium to really get out what's in here and put down what's going on.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that would have taken you through some deep inner journeys with really the intent to just write about the travels, but with the processionary effect of actually going deeper within yourself. Is that sort of how it came about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's scientifically proven as well. Everything you diarize or put it in your journal, it actually manifests itself. So when you start, putting simple things like, your day's activities when you're overseas, anywhere, it doesn't matter where you are, it actually brings that excitement, as well as that something that you didn't know about yourself as well on paper. And then all of a sudden it's reality. It's not just stuck in your head, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like a creative journey of writing it down. And also it's also giving it life, if you know what I mean. Like, when you manifest something, it becomes true in the being. So every time I write, when I'm doing the journey, I don't blog at the time. I just write, like scraps and pictures and everything that happened on the day, and then you put it together and then blog it. and people started reading it. And because I didn't even tell my family that I was doing that, this was like the total secret part of my life that nobody knew. And then when people from like random places started messaging me saying, "Oh, I read your blog and I'm going there tomorrow," or "I'm here now and it was an amazing idea," or "Thank you for that." And I started thinking, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I thought I was just putting it out in cyberspace and nobody's reading it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so it was kind of like it found me instead of me looking for an opportunity to start a different business. So I always say to people, my business actually found me instead of the other way around. So yeah,
that's beautiful. And that's where you really, it wasn't forced. It wasn't something out of obligation, but it was just something that was just holistic and organic and just come about. That's really beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah. It was, and it felt so right. Like as soon as I went, like, oh my God, I'm making changes in people's lives. I'm helping them, do something that was a lot more fun and amazing and different, and also stay safe, like younger girls on the road there, adventuring, and that's where you kind of like start looking for who you truly are. This little words that I'm putting together on a piece of paper that doesn't mean much to many, but it means something to just that particular person. So it was very, very touching and inspiring for me to keep going. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that being the case. Can you share, just while we're chatting as well, I'm just getting a watch party going on Facebook and a few things on Instagram, so we can say good day to our Instagram, Facebook, and also people listening on the recording. But can you share a little bit about the backstory, like what it was like before really tapping into your true authentic self, and what you remember being in that space, and what that sort of felt like to you, and similarities that you see in others that haven't quite reached that goal yet?
Yeah, actually, Matt, to be totally honest, I didn't bring my tissue box.
That's all right.
What are you doing to me?
That's what sleeves are for.
Yeah, so right through high school, I struggled as a student because I am dyslexic.
Okay.
So this is something that back then I would not have owned up to. I was super embarrassed of this fact that the society told me something was wrong with me because I couldn't say a spell to save myself.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody asked me, "How was your heart?" So I still can't. No, I still can't. So whenever I actually people ask me, "How was your high school and primary school, and how was your schooling life?" I just go great, because I was in such a denial state that
Yogita,
I didn't want to.
Can I cut you off? Can you just say that again? It's just the internet's just been a bit temperamental at the moment and dropping in and out a bit.
Scared and feared judgment. I feared.
Yogita? Oh, and she's gone.
Are you there?
Yeah, hey, it just cut out. So
Yep.
yeah, right at the critical moment. You're gonna have to start that little bit again if that's all right. It was just.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't really know what happened. It's just like 1 second you were there and next second you were gone.
Yeah, the internet's a bit temperamental at the moment.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so I don't really know where it cut out, but yeah, so I was just struggling with this big, huge fear of not being good enough, and I'm really worried about not fitting in, and judgment of people, just people giving you certain look. It made me want to die, kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
So instead of really pursuing my dream to become what I really wanted to become, I went into doing accounting because accounting was simple. It was general knowledge for me. It was easy. And not that it was my calling or anything. I didn't feel like it was, but I knew that I would have a lot of money.
So can I ask, with respect to the dyslexia, that only affects words and not numbers?
No. You can give me numbers like on top of my head. I can add 7, 8, 10 digits,
Is that even
multiply
when you're
them.
reading them as well?
It's just reading words. So if you put ABCs in any language, it doesn't matter what language it is. Because at first, because English my second language, we thought it was just to do with the
Yeah.
fact that it was English, and I am kind of like, translating between different languages.
Yeah.
But every language I can speak it properly fine, but
Yeah.
to spell it and write it it's challenging. It's
It's
just when I
interesting
see letters.
because
Mm,
numbers is almost a language in themselves. So to not, like
yeah,
when you look at a number three, that's just another
yeah,
symbol with another definition, just like a letter
yeah,
as well. So
yeah, yeah,
what is the
absolutely.
difference there? Like, can you explain how how that operates? Like, why is it that letters are so
Yeah,
different to numbers in that space?
yeah. It's to do with sounds. So it's the link between the letters and the words, the sounding of it. So I will have, say, for example, if you gave me a spelling, I'll like say spell was WAS, right? I will have the letters there, but in different places. So it's like as soon as I see words, it just jumbled up in my head. It's like almost letters dancing on the paper. And if there's heaps of it, it kind of feels like too much. So you got to read sentence, and then like I used to hide them, so it's only one sentence available at the time as you
Yeah.
go down. So yeah. So and then as you keep like my whole being was all about writing, speaking, and putting my message out there that way. So
Yeah.
I was like super determined that I'm not gonna let the dyslexia win. I'm gonna have to work that much harder. And by doing that, I had then realized that it was like for a very long time I called it my weakness, and then after a lot of research on exactly what it's all about, I found out that it's actually my gift. So even though my brain can't spell, but my brain can create things that nobody else can even think about. So it's kind of like a gift in a disguise, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
I spent 30 years hating my gift and labeling it as my weakness. So
Yeah.
I had to catch up. So I'm going like,
Yeah.
on fast forward right now to not let this go to waste anymore. Yeah.
Okay, Finn. So
Yeah.
what were the telltale signs that it was that creative gift? Like, what were the things that came up that started to show you that?
Yeah, so like origin, like right through school, you kind of like know there's something not right with you, but you never get diagnosed, if you know what I mean. You don't actually go and get a proper test done and so forth. So at university, when I was halfway through my degree, I said to one of my lecturers, who was very, very kind to me with everything, all the support and stuff. I said to her, I said, I really want to change directions. I want to be like a journalist and a reporter and a writer and all that. And she goes, honey, I sense that you have some kind of a grammar spelling problem, but back then when we did assignments and stuff, it wasn't. We were not penalized for not having right spelling and right grammar and so forth, especially in accounting degree.
Yeah.
And she said, have you been tested? So I got tested, and when I got tested, it confirmed the fear that that was what I had. I didn't know the word dyslexia existed. That's what was the problem was. But when they said this is what it is, and these are the downfalls, and these are the highlights of it. This is how your brain works. So they explain it all, and then they try to get you to focus on what your highlights are. And then I went like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I really get it. But for normal people, they'll go, for not normal people, for everyone else that has dyslexia, they will probably just go, oh, okay, let's just not worry about doing anything to do with spelling, writing, grammar, and so forth. For me, that was my whole being, that I wanted to do that. Like a normal person will read a, average novel in maybe 2 days. I'll take a month, but I would not give up.
Not me.
There's
Like,
no
I'd take me about a month as well. Maybe I've got dyslexia. Fuck.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was challenging, but then that challenging made me stronger. That challenge really made me want it so bad as well. And the more I wanted it, the more I realized I have to step up and just be total me, and like, let the world see me and not be scared of being judged and fear that people will laugh at me, and they will criticize. I mean, when I first started blogging, there was one comment. This comment stuck with me because it kind of like went to speak to my old person, the old me.
Yeah.
It said something like, don't read her, don't support her, don't, give her any money because she's illiterate. She's all that, nasty things you could think of. She wrote it down. And I thought to myself, like, when I read it, the old me came out, defensive and angry. And then I went like, oh, thank you for sharing it. Thank you for putting it out there, because now I can tell everybody that the reason you will find a lot of spelling mistakes and grammars all over the place in my blogs and so forth is that I'm dyslexic. But the message is there, and if you can look past the grammar and the spelling, the message will help you. Yeah. So that was quite hard growing. Like, I had to really get very, very strong within me to say I'm going to have to push through, and I'm not going to let people's judgment stop me. So, and that's where it all kind of like manifested to next level and next level and next level. And then I started attracting people who were supporting me, who were like, I'm really, envious of what you're doing. I love what you're doing. And, I wish I could do that. And so that brought the next level of my journey, where from traveling, I added the mindset to it, because mindset was what I had to work with. Yeah.
I was going to ask you with that as well. Like, do you find that, because people so much and so often they try and resist the challenge that's ahead of them, but it's actually, what it sounds like is that when you redefined the way your external world actually was, or when you redefined what it meant to not be able to read and write as well as other people, you just transcended all those negative connotations, those judgments. It wasn't that you dealt with the negativity, it's that you redefined your experience. Would that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't change the world. I just changed me, because that's where it starts from. And that's what my message is. Like, a lot of people I meet, they constantly blame someone else for things that are not going right in their lives.
Yeah.
And I was one of them at the beginning. It was my mom's fault. It was my teacher's fault. It was my, everybody else's fault. And then eventually it came to a point where I just ran out of who else to blame anymore. And then when I realized, okay, I can change me. And if I am going to do this, I've got to dig really deep and find that strength, because it's in there. I know it's in there. I just got to bring it out and just be it. And the more I worked on my mind and then shifted, like you said, like, once you shift, you don't change the world, you just shift the way you see. And I now only see everything great in other people. Before, because I only saw what was wrong in me, I saw everything wrong in other people. So, that was like the mirror effect of how you attract people and how you see people. So, yeah, I love the work is hard work, but once you do put the effort, and once you do kind of like get so strongly, dedicated to it. Like, for me, it was always being stubborn. Like, I was stubborn that I had to do this,
Yeah.
And so here it is.
Yeah, that's where the tissue boxes come in, doing the hard work.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, trust me, the tissue boxes were just piled up. Yeah. And it is one of those emotions that now I teach people that crying, well, it has always been a healthy thing for you. But we grew up seeing it as weak behavior. Somebody cries, especially I feel really bad for men when they cry. Most of the time, like, especially boys, little boys, you hear the mums go or dads go, stop being a girl. That's just the most depressing thing you can say to someone.
Okay, I'll change my sex and I'll be a girl so I can cry.
Emotion. Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like crying, I think, is the most healthiest thing you can do, because it releases all the emotions, the negative emotions that you're holding inside. So yeah, I did a lot of crying. I did quite a bit of my share of crying.
Yeah.
Now I cry very easily. Before
Yeah.
it was like a stone trying to get tear out of me. Yeah.
I cried the day before yesterday when I watched a movie. It was like a kids' cartoon movie, and it made me cry a little bit. It was called Storks, and it was about storks taking babies to parents to thing
Oh,
it, and it was like this one that
yeah,
never got delivered. This baby that never got delivered.
yeah.
That
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it pulled my
It's
heartstrings.
emotional. A bit, like I cried a little bit. I tried not to too much
Yeah.
because my
It's just my hay fever.
yeah,
So tell me
yeah.
what it means for you, um, to actually, yeah, tell me what it means, the authentic self means for you, and then yeah, let's start with that. What is the authentic self for those that haven't heard that term or wanting to?
Sure. Authentic self has got like quite a lot of layers to it. It's a very, very like it's got lots of dimensions to it, so to speak. Like you really need to tap into who you are. And so who you are is like the true version of who you are, not like what the society conditioned you to be. So like for me, I had to go back. I did quite a lot of work in India with this, because that's where that's where my grandparents came from, and for some reason I had this calling that I had to go there and start from there for this part of my journey.
Yeah.
And the first thing I found is that our body has memories of what my great mother did. And the more I am in tune with me, the more I would know that information.
Yeah.
Because now, like in today's day and age, we work with just our conscious mind. We never tap into our subconscious mind, and all the power of that authentic you sits in your subconscious mind. So the more I learned, the great things my grandparents used to practice, used to believe in, used to do, got passed on to my parents and then to me. And then yeah, so and these are the knowledge and information that I can enhance and be.
What sort of things did they pass down, or that did they practice? What are you talking about?
So yeah, so let's say for example, I'm a very big believer in the religion I was born in, the sole purpose of my being, and everything that when I was younger, I never understood why this was happening. I would walk past either any temple or any household or anything, and they will be doing like any sort of prayers, and that music will give me goosebumps, and I didn't understand why, because I'd never actually been part of it. So I was always confused why I felt that way. But it was a memory from the old, as it got passed on to me. And then things like, now when I meet someone, I have got this sixth sense about the person that I can almost tell 99% of the time what they're not saying when they're actually asking for help. So it's like a gift that, I kind of picked up on somewhere. It's not like psychic gift. It's like, you're paying attention to the things between the lines. You have got that intuition that that person's asking for help, but it's the words that they are putting out there are the words that they think you want to hear, but what they're actually saying is something different. So I normally, in my coaching sessions and retreats and workshops, I normally turn them around and ask more questions to get them to open up more. And the other thing that I found that I had was one of the knowledge of Ayurveda. And this is like ancient 500 or more than 5,000 year old wisdom of science and life coming together. when we were younger, my grandma used to give us, things that we did. We just thought we were doing them because we were poor.
Yeah.
We didn't have money to buy toothpaste, or we didn't have money to buy shampoo and things like that. But what I didn't realize at the time was the fact that she was actually using all those information and products that was good for our health and skin and teeth and hair and so forth. So all these things that has just come into being, and then now I study it and I go, somehow I know this already. And yeah, so it's hard to explain it, but yeah, it's like every one of us had that power. You just have to tap into that, and then once you do, you kind of like become more authentic you. That's who you are. Yeah.
So how does someone, or what was it like for you? I don't know if you can tap into it, but when you actually recognized and realized and actually met your authentic self?
I actually, the very first one was in India, which was like on the rivers of Ganges, and it's in the top end of the Rishikesh, Himalayas, just on the foot of Himalayas. Yeah. And they had this, like, I don't know, about 5, 6, 7,000 people. They're just everywhere. They're all chanting, and like they're from all over the world. They're not just from India, if you know what I mean. So there were like quite a lot of people from Australia, from America, from Europe, and they're chanting. For some reason, this was quite a big event. And as they were chanting, I had like a special ceremony done just for me. And when the priest was doing his thing, for some reason, I went into a space where I couldn't hear anything around me or feel myself. It's like almost like an out-of-body experience I had. And that's when it was like exciting and scary at the same time. I felt like, something was just the penny dropped kind of feeling, that this is who I am. And instead of being ashamed of it, instead of hiding behind the walls, instead of like trying to stop being yourself because you're so scared of being judged, just be you. And whoever doesn't like it, it's fine, because not everybody's gonna like you, and and not everybody's gonna hate you. So you just gotta just go and be you. So yeah, that was like my moment where I went like, I'm happy to tell everybody I have dyslexia. I'm happy to tell everybody that I'm Indian, and don't need to pretend, don't need to color my hair blonde, you know what I mean, to try and fit in and put my mask on and so forth. So yeah, it was an amazing moment. Like that aha moment was just, it's hard to actually describe it. But, yeah.
Tell me about what some of the challenges were after that point, because I know that it's great to have those epiphanies and they can be really profound, but then trudging through the day-to-day life, it's like straight away, I'm guessing almost instantaneously you got challenged on that, and there was a lot of challenges along the way. So can you share with people, because I think people think that, I had an awakening and then now it's all better, but it's actually like you might recognize something, but then immediately there's an endless array of challenges that follow suit to help ingrain that and embody that lesson. So can you share some of the challenges that came up for you after you had that epiphany?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, funny, I'm glad you asked this question, because I'm actually just in the process of writing a book all about this. The name of the book is Finding Me, Myself, and I. Kind of complementing the my business, Traveling with Me, Myself, and I. Yeah. So in the book, I explain a lot more, which I'm not going to give away too much now. But yes, you're very correct in saying that as soon as you have that the aha moment, the second you step out, you have changed, but everybody around you is exactly the same. So your challenge is it's just the starting point. And if you're not like strong enough, you're going to go back to just not worrying about the aha moment. You just say, yes, I everything's perfect, I've changed, but the challenges just keeps on coming. And for me, I took them as like, if I can push through this one, I will be able to get stronger and be more of me, because I can't actually preach this unless I actually walk this my message myself.
Yeah.
So I had to. The very first one was that not to expect other people to change, and that was my first lesson. Not to expect anybody else to change. You have changed. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. And if people around you don't appreciate you, depending on who they are, like, you can't really disown your own family, but, like in the friend section and, your work section, if they are not supporting your new vision of you, you have to let them go. They're not there to serve you, and you're not there to serve them. It's like one of those things that the first lesson I had to learn was that you can't change people. The second is, like, you have to pick who you want on this journey to walk along with you, because it's really very much about you. You are the only person that's walking on this journey. And if you didn't like who you were, like, the longest time in this whole life you're going to be spending is just with yourself. That's the best, like, the first relationship you have to have. And if that's not based on a honesty and truth, the relationship with yourself, you're going to have problems with all the other relationships in your life as well.
Yeah, I love that. Can you give some examples as well of a couple of things that that you faced that you can remember, as far as what brought up specific challenges, like whether it were people or colleagues, or what sort of circumstances arose?
Yeah, so like, I'm not going to go into details because I really have got quite a detailed part of this in my book. So the big part was that, like my friend sector, like I had my mindset was, the more friends you have, the more famous and popular and loved you are, and I needed that acceptance. I needed that from the fact that I didn't love myself before this whole aha moment. And so I had to slowly let those friends go. And the process was hard because these girls, I actually really loved them.
Yeah.
But it was all about one-way street. I was always giving, and they were toxic for me. So it was like draining me out. And when I was around them, I was more being like them. So now I'm not being like them. They didn't like me either, if you know what I mean, because now I'm not pretending to, like when we get together for coffee or drink or whatever, we just like people bashing everybody else's fault, oh, this happened at work, it's that person's fault, or that happened at work, and, and this happened at home, it's husband's fault, children's fault. And now the new version of me is saying, no, it's not their fault, it's mine. I need to do this differently. I need to communicate better. I need to put my values out there so people don't break them. They know what my values are, so they align with me at that level. So those were the differences and challenges. Yeah, and communication was the biggest thing. I think the more I communicated with people, and if they understood it and they wanted to still be part of my life and my journey, they're still in my life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those who didn't understand, and they were quite happy to float away and do their own thing. And obviously, every soul is on their own journey, and they have to do their own thing. Yeah. So it was challenging, but it was at the same time, like I had to really get so stubborn that this is me, this is what I wanted. And if like for me, it was also, if I did this, I would be setting an example for my two beautiful daughters, because I really want to leave this legacy behind, that everything that they want to do is within them. They need to not fit in and not change and not be pleasing people, because you could do that all your life, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And people do it their whole life as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd love to hear what you sort of, from the people that you've worked with, and from your opinion, what the main challenges are that people face in finding their authentic self.
Yeah, like I've been quite lucky. I've worked with quite a lot of different women from all over the world. Because of my travels, I, meet people everywhere. And I've also worked with few men as well. The ones who are happy to cry, they find me. But the challenge is, the biggest one is they are too scared. They're too scared to actually really open up. They only show you the part of what they want to show you, and that's the biggest, like, that's like a denial state that they are in. They're stuck in. They know they want something different, but they're quite happy to be stuck in that cocoon that that they're comfortable with. So once they start working with me, like, I normally don't push them. I ask questions for them to push themselves. So because this inner work has to come from within, like, they have to really want to push themselves. And once they start pushing themselves, they see the difference in themselves. So that motivates them to go more and more and more. And as they start, like, going to open up more, they start to experience a lot more love and a lot more acceptance from people that they thought would judge them before. It's more in our heads than in actual being. So that's the biggest challenge I have with people I work with, is they're really too scared to open up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big awakening when you realize that most people are not thinking about yourself because they're too busy worrying about themselves.
Yes. Yes. They're too busy what the world is thinking of them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And share with people a bit more specifically about what you're doing in your coaching, and also with your retreats. Like, you've done a lot of retreats in the past, and you've got one coming up. I'd love to hear about the sort of journey that you take people through, because I'm sure it's sort of similar with your coaching and your retreats, and really the outcome that you like to deliver and that you love seeing your clients walk away with.
Yeah, so the journey is more as, like, in one-to-one coaching, it's more for people when they're first starting to want help. And then the retreat is just getting them to the next stage of connecting with, like, knowing that you're not alone. So you're with the group of people who are on a similar journey, maybe different stages, but a similar journey.
Yeah.
The result that I want them to really walk away with is that they have tapped into the power that's already within them. And there is no ifs and buts. They have total belief. The certainty is there that they can do this, and I'm just there to support them. I'm not there to fix them. A lot of them think that, if they give me the money, I'll just press a button, it will fix them. It doesn't work that way. So, like, my retreat that's coming up in November, we have got 3 days and 4 parts of the retreat. So one's body-based, mind-based, heart-based, and soul-based. Some people prefer spirituality, whichever way you want to say it.
Yeah. So
the 4 parts of that, and each part is connected to your authentic being. So, you can't work on one part and not the other and get your authentic being. You actually have to work on all these parts to be your true version of who you are, accepted, like, because all of us have weaknesses and all of us have faults, and they don't define you. Like, a lot of women have got this huge problem. They find their whole being by that. And some people have got this problem where they constantly say, oh, I can't find the right man. I have this problem. I attract all the losers, And I go, that's okay. We all did at some point. But it's not about them. It is about you. As soon as you know exactly what you want, you're going to attract what you want. So most of the time, people don't know this, that whatever you fear the most, you're going to attract that first. So stop. If you're driven from fear place, like whatever it is that you're fearful of, you need to get down there and get rid of that. And so this is what happens at the retreat, where we actually take little nuggets and they all work on it. A lot of time that they actually work on themselves, because the whole idea is their authentic being. It's not like a big group work, but you do come together and discuss it in group sessions, and you talk about different things, and you learn in group sessions as well. So I've got some beautiful ladies who are going to be teaching on the retreat as well. So and they will be talking about their life experiences, their knowledge with body, their knowledge with spirituality. I'll be talking about all my experiences and my knowledge with my how the mind works, and how you really need to have that heart, mind, body connection. Without that connection, you're really missing puzzles. Like your picture won't look perfect because there's parts missing in there. So I'm quite excited about the retreat coming up in November.
Yeah. So specifically that one, it's whereabouts is it? What are the dates, and are there any spots left as well?
Yeah. So at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of November, it's on the Sunshine Coast. I picked that location because we have a beautiful beach, Makula Beach, right there, and the airport's so close. So yes, we do have spots left. And for all the viewers that are viewing this particular video, I'm happy to give them a discount. Fantastic. But they have to contact to get that code.
No worries. Fantastic. I love it. And is there anything that really you have been really drawn to sharing? Like, I know we've obviously been sharing about, meeting your authentic self, but is there something that you really see people struggling with at the moment that you just like to give them a bit of a word of advice, or anything, last sort of message that you really like to leave people with to ponder on?
Yeah, I see this everywhere, and this is probably the biggest problem, not just Australia but worldwide, is like mental health. There's at the moment, like, we're Mental Health Awareness Week this week, so I thought it's an appropriate message as well. Yeah. It starts from simple things like feeling uneasy, and when you're so busy, you don't pay attention to it. Like, I've been trying to spread this word around and talk about this all the time. Anybody who wants to hear me, I will be like, in their ear, trying to tell them this information, that you just stop and take a deep breath and ask yourself, how are you feeling? Is the most important thing you can do, the best gift you can give yourself on a daily basis. And it doesn't take too long. It doesn't take too much of your time and energy during the day. And also for moms and dads, stop and really pay attention to the children, because now mental health goes back to people as young as 12, 13, being, suffering with anxiety, depression, and so forth. And we are all to be blamed, because we have this example where we are machines. We've got to go 24/7. We put so much pressure on ourselves. Everything is ego driven, and everything is like driven by power, that we have to have a grade at school, and we have to have big houses, you have to have great jobs. But at the end of the day, all these have to have this and have to have that. It's only defining yourself with who you are not. So, these kids are struggling, these parents are struggling. So why are we doing this to ourselves? We need to really stop. People say to on social media and media, newspaper, anywhere you look, that's okay. Work less and make more money. It is not a thing. It doesn't work that way. There's the richest people on the planet. You ask them, how do they work? They work hours, but because they love what they do, it is not draining. It is not a chore. It is a joy. That's the difference between wanting to really know who you are and then find out what you want to do. Because if you don't have those dots in the right places, you are going to be going like this nonstop and really suffocating behind all these emotions of not feeling right, burnt out, and really, depression. And then once the depression starts, it's really very fast slide into all kinds of terminal diseases. So yeah, I would like to, just end this with, take time to really feel what you're feeling and express it. Don't keep it within you. And it's okay to cry.
It is okay to cry, absolutely. And even once you're at that neutral state and out of the space of dis-ease, it's about actualizing your potential as well, and reaching for heights of what your capacity is and what you're able to achieve, not just getting out of misery or depression or anxiety, but actually striving to be the greatest version of yourself as well. And then from there, basically the world is your oyster, and you're going to be able to contribute to the world in the greatest way possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yes.
Where can people connect and find you, Gita? Whereabouts?
So the best place is my website, which is traveling with me, myself, and I.com. Now, traveling is spelled with only one L. I know in Australia and English, that is spelled with two L's. And that's my version of telling you that I am dyslexic. So, traveling with me, myself, and I.com. And all my contact details on my website. You can make appointments to see me or buy tickets to the retreat. And also, I've got a book coming out that will, for everyone who's wanting to get an idea on how to start finding your true version of you. That book will be quite helpful in terms of the first steps.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so that will be the best.
I'll put a link to your website in all the descriptions as well, so you can check that out there. And definitely connect with Yogita. If you can make it to the Sunshine Coast next month, or you're in the area, connect and check out her retreat, because it sounds absolutely amazing. And guys, if you're on the journey of finding your true authentic self, you're wanting assistance, you're just wanting to pick the brains of someone that's a professional in the space, then reach out to Yogita as well. And thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, lovely to connect with you and to be able to share your story and share your message with everyone as well. I think it's amazing.
Thank you, Matt. That has been an amazing, amazing hour that we've just chatted. And I did it without crying.
I know. We'll get on for round 2 when we get those tears rolling.
Really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you and everybody watching. Thank you.
Thanks, hon. Thanks, guys, for watching and listening. Take it easy. Enjoy your day. We'll see you on the next episode.